Hi everyone, I'm Robin Sewell and this is Arizona Highways. Standing more than 1,300 feet high and surrounded by cactus and desert, the Superstition Mountains are both magical and mysterious. Some of the stories are mind-twisting.
Oh, good heavens, they've got flying saucers, they've got mountains back there that are hollow, and the top of the mountain opens at night, and extraterrestrials come out.
The mountain itself dates back some 18 million years. Inside a collapsed volcano, it was forced upward, called a resurgent dome. The peaks at one time, covered in ash, are now bronzed and breathtaking.
The mountain itself, it just changes all the time, and you never get tired of looking at the mountain sunrise to sunset.
Visitors come from all over the world to see Mother Nature's creation, and maybe, just maybe, stumble across the most famous missing treasure in the world, the Lost Dutchman Mine.
I'm absolutely convinced that it does exist, and that it lies hidden today right where he said it was, somewhere deep in the heart of Superstition Mountain.
Clay Wurst has spent more than 60 years searching for the mine. As legend has it, the Lost Dutchman told two men where the mine was before he died.
All he could do was describe what the country looked like as he traveled. And in one of the roughest pieces of wilderness terrain on the North American continent, it simply wasn't good enough. They never found the mine.
Every year, the legend of the Lost Dutchman Mine seems to grow, but only a few people hold the secrets passed on by the Dutchman. Clay is one of the keepers.
He held his hands up about 18 inches apart. He said it's a vein about that wide, and he said, "Dick, there's enough left in sight to make millionaires out of 20 men."
For years, treasure hunters combed the mountains searching for the buried treasure. Many a man shot on the mountain as the battle to find the mine became territorial and dangerous. Clay getting a front row seat for more than half a decade.
I give a talk on the Lost Dutchman Mine, and I end it by saying if I could turn the clock back to 1947 and absolutely knew then that I would never find it, I would do it all over again. Because it was the search, it's the precious, precious memories.
Many of those memories and artifacts are on display at the museum, like this telescope used on the first hunt for the mine, or an old wooden calendar board with 31 holes. Several of the treasure maps used back in the day are also on display.
The history of it is just amazing, the amount of people that it's drawn to it, and people that have explored it and looked for gold and just enjoyed the beauty of it.
Whether you're a treasure hunter or an outdoor enthusiast, the Lost Dutchman State Park at the base of the Superstition Mountains is worth the visit. And if you happen to see Clay, say hello and ask him about the mine, the mountain, and why he hopes someone finds the treasure before he dies.
I'd like to vindicate the faith of half a dozen men that I knew that squandered their lives in a fruitless search for the Dutchman's gold. But every one of them still died with some precious, precious memories.
Yes, indeed, these mountains are the keepers of countless memories, fascinating stories, and unbelievable theories. And maybe, just maybe, a treasure that is worth millions and millions of dollars. Do you remember studying the California Gold Rush in your history class? You know, the 49ers, Sutter's Mill. Well, that gold fever still exists today. There are people out there daily doing back-breaking work, hoping to strike it rich.
I started about 15 years ago. We were just on a camping trip and just happened to walk through a creek that had a lot of the black sand in it.
Jack Tucker didn't know it then, but he was one apple pie away from catching gold fever.
My dad told me the saying, wherever you find gold, you'll find black sand, but wherever you find black sand, you may not find gold. So I thought, gold? Wow, I'd like some gold. I went up to look for a prospecting store, somewhere, a place I could find a gold pan. No gold pan to be found. Of course, it was Easter weekend. So I bought a pie just so I could get the tin from the pie, and that was actually my first gold pan.
Today, Jack is part of the Miners Creek Prospecting Club in Wickenburg.
We have approximately close to 300 members. A lot of them are winter visitors. We go out as a group and prospect and share the gold. We come out here for the fun, the exercise, the camaraderie. If you find gold, that's nice. We all get a little bit of gold, but you ain't gonna get rich.
There are all kinds of ways to look for gold, some more sophisticated than others. Miners Creek has a dry washer which basically uses airflow to separate the gold from the dirt. In fact, gold is actually 19.3 times heavier than water.
Well, the riffles hold the gold, and the dirt comes down onto the top of this. Gold being the heaviest, it gets trapped behind each one and gets a little drier as it goes over each riffle, all the way to the end. The fan in here is blowing the air from the leaf blower. It blows all the light stuff out that you don't want. That's all this stuff. Comes out, blows out, and keeps the gold in.
That's gold.
Oh, yeah.
There's a nice little flake right there. And it's always good when you get gold.
See a little smile in the pan.
So if we do that about 50 times, you might have enough to go buy yourself a loaf of bread, huh?
This highway was built in 1904, and it only took about a year to complete this road.
It's officially known as State Route 88, but the name Apache Trail seems much more fitting. It's one of Arizona's classic scenic drives, with a chain of lakes along the Salt River that shine and sparkle in every hue of blue you've ever seen.
Congress passed what was called the Western States Water Conservation Act, or the National Conservancy Act, and that authorized the Western states to build dams. But we had to build a road up to the dam site first. And so we chose the old Indian footpath that the Indians used to travel the Salt River Canyon on.
During construction of the Roosevelt Dam, the road was built to provide transportation of equipment and supplies. In 1919, the Apache Trail was approved as a special transportation link between Phoenix and the towns of Globe and Miami to open up the copper industry to the Phoenix market. With its narrow, hairpin turns and awe-inspiring scenery, it was easy for tourists back then and today to fall in love with this roadway.
I think the best part of the trail would be the Fish Creek Hill experience, because it's a little bit of an exciting adventure because you're dropping about 2,500 feet in less than a mile. And there's some rough edges, and we have the virtual guardrail that's almost not there.
Brett Marchant, the owner of Apache Trail Jeep Tours, says the drive is like no other you'll take in the world. But it's also one of those white-knuckle experiences you'll never forget.
It can be smooth, but there's a lot of switchbacks, and you really have to pay attention to what you're doing and where you're going, because there's a lot of beautiful vistas, and you want to avoid the honey, hey, look over there syndrome, and just pay attention to what you're doing. The roads can be washboarded because they're not maintained, and there can be a lot of steep drops and a lot of sharp curves.
Wow, I don't even know how two cars ride on this road.
Well, it's the right-of-way belongs to the person coming up the hill. That was established when the old freight wagons and stagecoaches came up here, because you didn't want to break the momentum of the horse coming uphill.
For Sergio and Susie Miranda, the tour was both exhilarating and frightening at the same time.
It was great. It was great. My gosh, I cannot believe how high we were, and that road being so thin, and some of the views that you don't see on the regular road. That's why it's great to take the tour.
It was excitement and nerve-wracking experience, but it was more excitement and the majestic views. It was not only that, but educational for the whole family or for single couples. Is one of life's experience that I will never forget.
Over the years, I have always told you to take a trip just off an Arizona highway. But today, I am telling you to get on this special Arizona Historic Highway for one of the most memorable rides of your life. the sounds of serenity. This is an oasis found just off an Arizona highway.
We're at the Tonto Natural Bridge State Park, just north of Payson, about 11 miles on Highway 87.
A masterpiece, years in the making.
The Natural Bridge has been here for a long, long time. Depending on your beliefs, it could be as young as 5,000 years and as old as 1,000,000 years.
When you see the sights, you ask yourself, how often do you see a waterfall surrounded by cactus? This scenery also comes with some impressive history.
It's the world's largest natural formation travertine bridge. Travertine is the rock that grows. It's actually a calcium deposit deposited over a long period of time over moss and grass, trees, and rocks. Builds up very quickly. It can grow up to several inches a year.
The bridge was discovered back in the late 1800s when a prospector stumbled upon it after being chased by Indians. The man hid out in caves located on the inside of the bridge. Smart thinking, for there is plenty of room to be found at this natural wonder.
We have a lot of beautiful spots to picnic and barbecue and we have a lot of weddings, a lot of family reunions down here. Once people find out about it, it's not a secret anymore.
It's a park where every turn shares with you another spectacular view and more soothing sounds.
I think people are truly amazed when they come down the hill and the windy road and get down here in this little canyon and see what the jewel that it is.
That's one Arizona treasure, aged to perfection. It's one of the things Arizona is best known for. Just take a look around. Lots of exposed rock. In fact, we have more here in our state than anywhere else in the nation, making us one of the best rock climbing meccas in the country. So here I'm with Paul and Eric, and they're my rock climbing instructors. I'm going to trust you guys, and we're going to go on up and climb.
Let's do it.
So let's go. Paul DIEFENDORFER works quickly and precisely, getting the ropes ready for our climb, making darn sure that they'll be secure.
See you at the bottom.
ERIK FILSINGER's down below. ERIK is part of the Queen Creek Climbing Coalition. This area where we're climbing today is owned by the Resolution Copper Mine. Together, the Coalition and Resolution Copper have worked out an agreement that lets rock climbers use some of the mine's property.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, we're going to tie you in here.
As soon as I'm strapped in, it's amazing how fast the fear of falling grips me. I'm not even up there yet. If you had to lift me, I wouldn't be that. I mean,
but he's not going to lift you. If you were going to belay Eric up, we would anchor you to a rock or something on the ground or a tree.
Because I wouldn't.
Because he weighs more than you by a couple of pounds, maybe. Yeah. Well, okay.
Now, I've climbed some rock walls indoors before.
When you're climbing, just look at, you asked Eric about looking at your feet. Yeah, you don't move anything unless you're looking at it. You're going to put your foot down and then just put your weight down and then stand up. And if you look, you don't need big hand. You're just going to touch and you're going to look at the other foot. And then here's the biggest trick in the world. Move your weight over the foot.
The foot I want to stand on.
Yeah.
All right. Ready to climb.
You're on belay, Robin.
Climbing.
Climb on.
Now, here's where we have a camping ledge right there. Yeah, you saw it right there. Stand now. Shift your weight over that. Stand up.
She's a natural.
And keep breathing.
I don't think I remember to breathe.
Right, that's the tendency that people want to hold their breath.
About right here?
Now, don't go so far over. I'd go right here. Look at that, huge ledge. Just put your toe on it like that.
A huge ledge. It's like the size of my pinky.
Push with the leg. No.
Okay, well, let's just experience something.
Now, what did I say about grabbing onto the rope?
Don't touch the rope. Okay. You know what they say, get back on the bull. We're back on the rock.
There you go.
If I thought climbing up was hard, climbing down is going to be tougher. This is where I'm having a difficult time.
Stand up on that foot. Don't lean in. Stand up. See how you're tentative? Mm-hmm. The only time you should stand with both knees bent like you're doing is when you're going to the bathroom in a cornfield. So, we're not doing that, so don't do it.
Suddenly, every rock climber's a comedian.
Lean back, don't touch. There. Now straighten your legs. Ah, there we go.
Oh, I like this.
Feet about shoulder width apart. There we go.
And then, what I was afraid of happens. No, not the butt shots.
So, Robin, you will pick something.
Stop when you get to the ground.
Sorry, guys.
You're good.
it down. Fine.
All right. Good.
I'm a little clumsy.
That's okay.
Well, I guess it's like everything. You know what? You just got to do it over and over
Yep.
again. You
Practice.
gotta have confidence and practice.
And honestly, I've dealt with a lot of beginners. You did just fine.
But I was
Audience, she did great.
So after a few bumps and bruises, I found out that I actually like the thrill I get from rock climbing. Not bad for a day just off an Arizona highway in the beautiful mountains of Superior. Walk the streets of Clifton, Arizona, and you see history all around town. Founded back in the 1890s, this tiny northern Arizona city was barely 20 years old when a good part of it was destroyed.
They had a big fire in 1911. All the buildings here were made of wood, and the entire center section of this part of town was completely burnt down.
Undeterred, those living here picked up the pieces, replacing wood buildings with brick ones. Many of these structures have stood for more than a century. And while some of the bricks are crumbling and the paint peeling, the town has not lost its Western charm or character. The downtown area is in many ways a nod to the early years, when railroads were used to haul copper from the nearby mines, still a booming business in this part of the state.
Clifton, Morenci area is the largest copper producer in North America. They are producing over 2 million pounds every 24 hours.
It's a jail.
Not far from the downtown area is the old Clifton Cliffs Jail.
When he started, he had to dig uphill to get into this area.
Built around 1879, the underground jail features cells dug into and built around the hard pan. They may call Alcatraz the rock, but this jail is built into, not on top of the rock.
He built 2 rooms. The one on the other side over here has got chains on the floor where the guys could be shackled to the chains on the floor.
Still there, the chains are tattered and rusted just like the bars on the cells. The old jail, seeing its first prisoner more than 140 years ago, and to the surprise of many, the man locked up that first night was the man who built it.
It seems, the story goes, that when he finished the jail, he went across the river on a footbridge, and he went across to the river to Hovery's bar over there, and he commenced to get drunk, and he finally pulled a pistol out and imitating a cowboy, and he shot the pistol off 2 or 3 times.
Well, that decision landed him right here, you see.
The owner of the bar was a deputy sheriff, and he thought it would be a fitting thing to arrest him and put him in jail, so he was the first one to be brought into this jail.
Many a prisoner spent time down here through the years, but the jail was actually only in service about 25 years. In fact, it hasn't been used since 1906. Built on the banks of the San Francisco River, floodwaters poured in that year during a storm, trapping several people.
They had to open up this window, which is above us here. The rails on it, they had to remove those and pull the people out with ropes to get them out of here.
Now a popular tourist spot in Clifton, you can go to the jail, play on the rails, or just walk around the downtown area and yonder back to a time when life was a little slower.
Hi, I'm Jake. Welcome to Superior and welcome to the world's smallest museum. The roof on the west side of the museum is probably the biggest novelty. It's made out of 1,800 Anheuser-Busch cans.
Once just an ordinary tough shed, now it's a 134 square foot museum.
Google search says we're the smallest, so I'll take their word for it.
Jake Reaney owns and runs this roadside stop along US 60.
The fountains are actually the biggest attraction outside the museum. We have the big retired fountain, that one's popular, and I guess the wheelbarrow fountain's the most popular.
Jake thought something eye-catching could be big for business. And it worked. We stopped and we found this collection of small treasures from our state's political past to Arizona's one-of-a-kinds.
We have a little of everything. Our most prominent display is the world's largest Apache tear. That's what Superior is known for. An Apache tear is a semi-precious gemstone, obsidian gemstone, that only comes from Superior, Arizona. And in the world's smallest museum, we have the largest one.
And who knew that the world's largest pieces of chalk would find a home in the world's smallest museum?
We did try to get it in the Guinness Book of World Records, but Guinness said no, because if they put it in, then it would be easy to build a smaller one. They have the largest category because it'd be hard to build one bigger than the Smithsonian.
While this stop in Superior may not rival the Smithsonian, the world's smallest museum has grown a bit.
It turned into more than the gimmick and the novelty that it started as.
Anytime is a good time to stop by, sit down, and order up some fixins at the Buckboard Restaurant. A place that will satisfy both your appetite and your soul. A throwback to old school cafes, when a cup of coffee was 25 cents and soda pop came in a bottle. Located in the town of Superior, just off a highway the locals like to call 100 miles of bad curves. Known for their breakfast, don't sleep on the lunches. The sandwiches are packed with meat and the soup is homemade. The restaurant is decorated like they were back in the 50s and 60s. You can find old milk bottles on the shelves, antique jugs, and plenty of other stuff. The Buckboard Restaurant is part cafe, part depository, and everything Arizona.
Thanks everyone so much for joining us. I'm Robin Sewell, and we'll see you on the next Arizona Highways.